And this is public
Do people
money.
just want to come in?
Yes, they use public money and they provide for public and public housing and not for us.
Oh, Michael's got his jacket. It's not even
Hey! Can I see your ID? Move along, mate, move along! Can I see your ID, mate? Why are you loitering in this? Why are you hassling me, man? Go away and speak to somebody else.
If
I don't
you
care.
outside, that will be good.
Move along. You know what the money that you give St. Vincent's does to people? Right, we had a brother that had a taxi called for him instead of an ambulance when he was having heart problems, yeah? That's a second-class treatment of a citizen, yeah? Of another human.
That's crisis accommodation.
Yeah? Bosnham House, they treat people like prisoners. That's where you're giving your money to. Your money is supporting abuses of our brothers and sisters' rights. Maybe you should think about that.
Well,
like, I don't discourage
like
you
to think
from
I'm
doing
here
the
to
right
trying to
thing,
do a good deed,
but maybe
you know
what
what
are
I
you doing with your money, bro? What are you doing
I'm
with
not doing it with my money. I'm helping.
You're raising money, but that money is being used to disempower our brothers.
Annual CEO Sleepout, that their commitment has increased the profile of homelessness. But what is totally transparent is that homelessness has never been more visible on the streets of Melbourne. Homeless people do not need more visibility, we need solutions. By promoting big business as an ally in the fight to end homelessness, St. Vinnie's is covering up the cause of this growing social crisis. If big business in Australia simply paid the tax it owes, billions of dollars would be raised to fund emergency accommodation and build the long-term housing that we desperately need. The long-term public housing that is shrinking in Australia. With over 105,000 people homeless in Australia and 173,000 on public housing waiting lists, the homelessness crisis will not be solved with self-serving PR stunts like this one. Many of the businesses participating in the CEO Sleepout have already done far more harm than good. Instead of congratulating them for pretending to be homeless for a single night, we need to be holding them account for their role in growing wealth inequality in Australia and across the world. As the share of tax paid by big business has shrunk, so has spending on public housing for those in need decade after decade. Many Australians are suffering from the housing crisis caused by putting the needs of the market before the interests of people. The market cannot solve this growing social crisis, and neither will you CEOs.
Basically, one of the problems with St. Vincent's is they actually gatekeepers to crisis accommodation. So, and they discriminate against whether it's people of colour or Indigenous people or transgender youth. You know, and one of the biggest problems for transgender youth is getting access to crisis accommodation because often women's shelters often turn away trans women and trans girls. And trans youth homelessness is like a massive problem. But also so is like First Nations, Aboriginal, Indigenous homelessness.
So how can we fix this?
What we need is we need long-term housing solutions. Like crisis accommodation is really good, but one of the problems, for instance, with women fleeing family violence is that when you exit the crisis accommodation, over 50% of women return to the domestic environment in which the violence was occurring because they don't have access to whether it's public housing or purchasing property or renting or whatever it might be. So what we need is people with money putting it behind long-term housing solutions, and that long-term housing needs to be safe, it needs to be free or like very affordable, where people aren't evicted or discriminated against. You know, and often the people that end up in crisis accommodation, whether it's the Salvation Army or St. Vincent's or whoever it is, end up being the more privileged homeless people. You know, tend to be white, tend to be men, etc. That sort of stuff. Because
How do we get the other people?
And how do you manage this?
How do we know?
Well, you need a CEO to run a company to set all of this up.
Yeah, well, first of all, the problem is that the groups managing this.
You're going to have to manage. This doesn't just happen. How are you going to do this? You've got to
There is no
manage.
simple answer. It's not one simple answer.
Yeah, no, I like this way when he's talking.
Basically, like, the way you do it is you don't put like religious organisations like Salvation Army and St. Vincent's in charge of delivering like crisis accommodation. Like
Human
at
services.
the moment, one of the best ways of of delivering that is through the public housing system.
That's right.
And putting more houses on the public housing register. And it's still not the best. Property isn't maintained very well. People still get discriminated against. It's still not safe in many instances, but it's still the best that people have got. And the problem we have is that we've got over 1,000 properties in Victoria alone owned by the state government that are just sitting there empty. Just sitting
Why are
there
they empty?
Because what they want to do is some of them are acquired, like over 300 have been acquired for the East West Link thing. They acquire them in various ways.
That's not going ahead. Criteria.
Yeah, it's not going ahead. And they made an announcement where they were like, oh, we'll give 20 of them to...
Exactly.
This is a great example, because they made an announcement where they were like, okay, we'll give 20 of these 320 properties that were acquired to a group called Magpie Nest, which is a joint thing between the Collingwood Football Club and Salvation Army. And they gave them 20 as like a token gesture of like, we're giving housing to a homelessness organisation, rather than putting all 320 something on the public housing register. And then those 20 that were given to Magpie Nest, only a few of them actually had people housed in them, and most of the people housed were connected in some way, had a personal connection, or even worked for the Salvation Army or Magpie Nest.
So that's ridiculous.
And the rest of them sat empty. And so the community got together, and there's about 10 of them under community control now, where we're housing like First Nations homeless people.
Well, how can we get all these houses on the public register?
My name's Nick.
Yeah, that's what you could be doing here.
Can I ask
It's
something
putting
to draw?
pressure,
Because I have
putting
an idea.
pressure on
Just so I get it in my head, can I draw something with the chalk? Is that okay?
No, I'm happy to keep talking about this sort of stuff.
Because what I'm hearing is it's your voice, like it's the voice of the people experiencing it. And you want or need the influence of people like us. But we can't discount the fact that whether we like it or not, government has some money, the not-for-profits have some money.
It's not government
And
money. Sorry, bro. It's not government
No, I'm saying
money.
they have the
It's
money.
our
I know.
money.
I didn't say that.
The
I said they have
assets
it.
belong to us.
Yeah.
They didn't conjure the money.
But if I
The
just-
money's coming. Even people on benefits pay GST.
Yeah, no, I know.
So the
I know,
assets
yeah.
belong to us.
I didn't say it was theirs, so
They
have it.
need to stop playing possum and say, do they believe in public housing? Do they believe in public health? Do they believe in public education? If they don't, they need to show their hand, because if they don't support these things, people need to be informed. And it's no good hiding behind faith-based charities that come with their own value system and judgment about individualising poverty and homelessness and blaming the victim. You know, this whole... Why are churches involved in distributing human services?
There's a lot of history. I don't know the answer, I'm just saying.
Because Howard contracted these out. He's supporting faith-based. He sees the church as a pillar of this society, and it's not. How many people go to church actually?
It's about
This is ours.
privatisation of public housing.
And
one way
corporatisation.
you corporatise it and privatise it is by giving it to like the social housing sector, which is like St Vincent's and whoever, that do a terrible job of housing people
Four
and
times more
managing that
expensive
housing.
than public housing.
That's right.
So what can we do, Sam?
Yeah, what can we
Well,
do?
if you've got
Pressure on the
money,
government?
if you've got
Your
money, you need to
citizens-
put it into groups, you know, either that are fighting the root causes of homelessness, like racism,
Strategy plan.
transphobia, colonisation, destruction
How would
of
we know
culture.
that?
Inequality.
Well,
Just so that we've got peaceful intent. Oh my god. That's not peaceful in my ears.
Give us your keys to your houses.
That's right.
yeah. You want to help housing? Stop having so much.
That's what. So we can understand your world too.
So amongst the depth and breadth of our voices is there's people that are more angry, others are more reasonable. But seems peaceful at the moment.
It's peaceful to me, so...
Not violent.
We're here to challenge
I'm not saying anyone's here to cause violence or anything.
to control human services by churches is wrong.
That's okay, we're all entitled to our opinions.
So we need to take every opportunity to challenge those
Like
assumptions.
to be sleeping on the streets, you know?
Not my job to have an opinion on any.
Well, you're entitled to one as a member of the public. You surely are entitled to one.
I think so. Anyway, probably nothing.
Can you please move these people on? They're an eyesore. We can't have this in our public building. What will tourists say when they come to the exhibition centre and they see all this bullshit?
Shame!
Can't have people sleeping here. Move them on. Come on, you're the cops. Move them on.
It's illegal. Move on, pal.
Some of them have been begging aggressively and acting disorderly.
And destroying rubbish bins.
Yes! Pissing! We saw a few pissing before.
Disgusting.
One of them's got a dog.
I thought it was one of them begged for money.
They want tax cuts. They're begging for money. Begging for tax cuts.
I felt scared.
I felt that.
These people are here trying to help change the issue. They're trying to address the issue. Well, we're saying that by giving money to a faith-based organisation, they're not helping to change the issue at all. They're actually perpetuating the homelessness industry. St Vincent's doesn't provide people with long-term public housing. It puts people into crisis accommodation, and there's no exits out of that. They're so expensive, people can't save money to get into public housing, and the public housing isn't even there anyway. So I know people feel that they're doing the right thing, but we're here to challenge that and say they're actually not. You could be better, your actions could be better by actually lobbying government, putting pressure on government to build and maintain public housing so people have long-term, secure, affordable places to live their lives with dignity and not be stuck in the homelessness merry-go-round.
That's right. Okay. Well, with content related, we
And where are these two people going to go that you're raising money for?
They're going to go into rental accommodation.
What kind of rental accommodation?
Private. I'm not exactly sure.
Is it private?
I don't know exactly what type of rental accommodation it is.
That's a bit of a problem, isn't it?
Not necessarily. I don't think it is.
Well, there's a big difference between being stuck in crisis accommodation and having access to long-term, secure, affordable public housing.
Yeah.
There's a big difference there.
Yeah, and I think you would find the majority of people that are here would actually want, long-term affordable housing as, the outcome, the ideal outcome. I think you'd find that's there.
What's obstructing that, do you think, though? What is obstructing the call for public housing and access to that long-term affordable?
Look, I think there's many issues to it. It's a complicated one. I don't think there's a simple answer to it.
It's really quite simple. The government just needs to invest taxpayers' money into building and maintaining that long-term, secure public housing. It's not complicated at all.
So, why tonight? Are you trying to reach out to government about that? Is that what you're trying to achieve tonight? Or?
We're here to make a spectacle, I suppose, to come down and to communicate to the people that are here about the problems with faith-based organisations and the homelessness industry.
Right.
Hopefully media will pick that up, the message will get through to government. So it's a multifaceted, the reasons why we're here, multifaceted.
Okay. Well, thank you for the conversation.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sure your heart's in the right place and you're trying to do the right thing, but we're saying that this approach doesn't fix the problem, it just keeps the homelessness sector, the industry, the merry-go-round in place.
It perpetuates it.
There's no exits out of crisis accommodation because you can't save enough money to actually get out of it, so it keeps people locked in.
Well, really what's needed is pathways out of homelessness.
Pathways out of homelessness, that's right.
Yeah, I get that.
That are clear, that are trans.
It's really lush. I think this is sheep's wool. Sheep's wool. Which homeless person has sheep's wool like this? So nice. Okay, there's all these people filming me now. What the fuck?
You have every day of your life to use current media structure.